Welcome to our speaker spotlight today. I'm Regina Curtis, your host and one of the co-architects of the next global events. Today, you're going to get to meet someone who's super cool. She is one of the speakers that's going to be joining us for our upcoming conference series and get to learn a little bit about who she is, what she does, and what she's passionate about. So let's go ahead and jump in. I would love to introduce you to Tori, who's going to be joining us on the What's Next for Your Spirituality Conference. This conference is coming up at the beginning of July, and I'll give more details about that as we chat. But Tori, what I'd love to know from you first is what's next for your spirituality? What does that mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Just out the gate. I'm like, I'm
Out
gonna
the
have to.
gate, let's start big.
Oh, wow. I mean, every day I feel like there's something new and I'm going deeper in my spirituality. So I'm just gonna say it, like, I'm a very spiritual person, but I read a lot of different ancient texts. And right now I've been really exploring the Bible because I didn't grow up with it. And it's not really like because I'm an energy healer, I'm picking up the energetic. So it's more just like to understand and
Mhm.
like connect more with prayer and then also help me connect more with like clients and like different spaces because I work with Jesus as an ascended master, but it's like I don't really know him that well because like I didn't go to church every week or
Yeah.
all the different things. Um so I don't know, like that has been one thing and the other thing has been certain ascended masters or sorry, archangels have been like raising their hand to me and so I've been working with them in a deeper capacity.
Fascinating. You and I need to talk about that more. I love that you're reading the Bible, and I also want to know. Like, I have so many questions right now.
Yeah, let's go.
Um, I want to know what other ancient texts you've read, and that could be a whole long conversation. But we dive deep into that, I want to respond to what you just said, and I think it's fascinating because I didn't also grow up with the Bible. I did very surface level. Like we were that family that went to church like on the holidays, like on Easter and Palm
Yeah.
Sunday and like Christmas Eve. My mom was kind of like the fair weather um religious person, I guess you could say. But I feel like but I also like in my school we danced the maypole and it was like a very like
Mhm.
earth-centered kind of I didn't realize it until way later in my life, but it was very like pagan centric. I mean, I grew up as like a hippie in Vermont, so it kind of makes sense, right?
Oh,
So I've always been super spiritual, but then also like religion has been like
yeah.
on the surface level a part of my experience, but never really like gone that deep with any of them to a point where I'm like I've sat in a lot of different church services, but not like consistently gone to one specific denomination for a long period of time. I've more like dabbled in the theory of religion and the practices of religion from more of a I don't know, like a viewer standpoint. Does that
Hmm.
not really like not
Not
a
like a
viewer, but like an
server,
observer? Yeah.
very much like, okay, I am seeing this, but I'm not sure I want to take it on and I'm not sure I want to participate yet.
Yeah, but learning from each of these things and like taking something from each of them to create kind of what is like my own belief system.
Total.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. I'll pass the ball back to you.
Yeah.
What does that spring up for you?
Yeah. So it's funny because, like, in college, I took an intro to religion class,
Mm,
and like, it's so interesting to read like the ancient texts on like creation stories. But like, for me, and it's like, it's funny because it all comes back to like what I work with. But for me, it was the Eastern, it was the Hinduism, the Buddhism that I was really drawn to.
mhm.
And now, being a Vedic astrologer who dives really deep into Hinduism, being a Reiki master, which, if you look at like the origins has origins of Buddhism really
Yeah.
makes sense. But it was like, because as someone that grew up in the United States, it was really Christianity, but then I also grew up Jewish. And so I had that like overlay going on of things, and like there was this whole like beautiful universe that came about. And then 10 years ago, when I really went holistic and the Eastern modalities really helped me, I mean, I really dived into, that's when I got connected with Ayurveda, and through Ayurveda, Vedic astrology or Jyotish. And that's when it was like, okay, well, like the Rig Veda, which I haven't read the whole thing, but just like these deities and the mythology
Hmm.
around it and these stories was like, oh wow, this is so interesting. And now I'm like really into Kabbalah, which I wasn't into like a few years ago, but being as spiritual as I am, it makes so much sense. And it's like you, I just want to connect with the divine and source, and whatever you call higher power, whether it's God, Lord, creator, universe or spirit, whatever that is for you. But it's really just about getting closer. And how, for the most part, these religions, sometimes I feel like they're a little diluted sometimes, but I think they are like, at least when I think about religion, and looking back at how I grew up, it's like culture and tradition and family coming together. That's how I look at it, not necessarily like, oh, the exact meaning of the text. Although it was funny, I was having a conversation with a rabbi friend of mine last week, and I was like, how did the Torah end? I'm reading the Bible. How did the Torah end? I'm confused, right? Because they only tell you so in Sunday school. And she's like, why don't we read it not right now? And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so she had me read it, and I literally got the chills because we read the last, like, I think verses, chapters, and it talked about how Moses died and he's not allowed to go into the promised land, but how he lays hands on the next generation. And that's what I do. I am someone that lays hands either
Hmm.
virtually or in person a lot of times on anything that holds energy. And I felt that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this archetype of Moses lives within me. Like that has gotten channeled down, whether like you want to believe that or not. I was like,
Yeah.
wow. So,
I love that. I remember like a very specific moment where I had this realization, like I've kind of, not st I wouldn't say studied, but learned about and through different, many different religions, and have mostly been more drawn to the Eastern religions as well. Also, like, practice Reiki and learned that, and, have kinda dabbled in Ayurvedic, and also, like, we have a lot of similarities in paths. Our paths, like, intersect a lot. But anyway, and astrology is, like, a huge space of learning and teaching for me as well, and, but I remember this moment kinda early on in my journey with spirituality of having this realization, like, what if the whole concept of Jesus is just to make us think like I am Jesus, that Jesus is within me. And I remember having that. I was driving, like I remember the moment, like driving somewhere. It was like a long distance road trip, where you get in your head and just kind of like groove
mhm.
in with whatever thoughts are there. And I had that realization, and I immediately had the thought, like, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to think that. And then I was like, wait, but maybe that is exactly what I'm supposed to think. And it was like this whole exploration. And it was years later that I had, like, actually in a meditation. And I love that you were talking about like Jesus energy and also archangel energy at the same time. And I remember sitting in this meditation, and uh, Raphael, the archangel Raphael, and the and Jesus energy both came in at the same time. And it was the most intimate I've ever felt, that like Jesus energy. And it was
Yeah.
not in a church. It was in a hotel room in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it was like there was nothing special about it, which I never have actually felt that energy while sitting in a church ever.
Mhm.
Even
Mhm.
though there are people like praying and talking about Jesus and reading stories about and the Holy Spirit and all of those things, I've never felt that same love. It was just like the strongest energy of love that I've ever felt. Just un I don't know like what the word
It
is,
was
like
pure. It
unconditional pure love. Like yeah, like and it was so strong and it was so beautiful and it was so clear the energy that it was coming through. And but I've never felt that in a church, which it leads me to kind of ask you about. I know that your topic for the conference that's coming up, the What's Next for Your Spirituality, I'm going to actually put that up again quickly so people can see that. The What's Next for Your Spirituality conference, this is happening on July 9th and 10th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central. And if you're interested in coming, Tori, you're going to be sacred space, I think, is our last topic of the conference. So that's going to be on the 10th in
the first.
it's the first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't listen to me. Go to the website, find the times there and buy the tickets there. I apologize. We do them all in a different order, depending on the conference. So anyway, the reason I wanted to bring this in is because, like I said, I've never felt that energy in a church. And I think that, when you talk about the concept of sacred space, a lot of times people are going to point to something like a church or a temple or, some space that was built to be a space to gather people for religious reasons. But I really would love to hear your standpoint on that. Like, what does it mean actually to create sacred space?
Yes. So one thing before I dive into that, because
I know I
I'm
said
so
a lot of stuff.
okay, so it's interesting that you were talking about connecting with Jesus as an ascended master and feeling that. And it's so funny because when people who maybe don't understand or it's a what like energy can be really abstract. Although I'm always like, if you believe in Wi-Fi, you believe in Zoom, you believe in phone calls,
That's so
like
true.
you should believe in like virtual healing. But what I wanted to say is that Jesus healed with his hands. Jesus healed by people touching his clothing.
Hmm.
Jesus healed with his words. He healed with his
Hmm.
breath. And that's all things that we are able to do as practitioners, whether you're at the master level, that's more about devoting yourself and teaching and sharing, right? Or you're at the practitioner level, or you're just at level one, or you're not attuned, but you are just a person. So we honestly have all of this Jesus energy within us
Hmm.
because we're able to heal with breath, with sight, with sound, with touch, with presence. So
Hmm.
I just feel called like to say that because I don't know. As you know, but the viewers don't know, I channel. So it was like I had to share that message. So
I
we
love
all have
it.
that capability within us. Okay, so going back into sacred space. So when I
Yes.
told people that because we weren't sure at first and then they were like you should do sacred space and I'm like perfect. Um all of like friends, people in my circle were like, "Tori, you are all about sacred space." And I'm like, "I am." So one story I want to share is when I was 18, I did or no, sorry, I was 22. I did go to Israel on birthright.
Hmm.
And I thought I was going to have this amazing experience. And I did have a wonderful experience in Israel, but I thought like we went to the Wailing Wall and I was going to have like this moment where higher power, God, wherever you want to call it, was there. And I remember getting there and I was just like, I am not feeling this at all. I'm not feeling anything. I'm like, cool, I'm here. I've seen this thing that people talk about, but like people were crying, people were like having moments. And I was just like, yeah, not happening for me. So, what I want to say is sacred space honestly lives within us. And I'm someone that loves sharing and teaching others how to create sacred space. I mean, on the Orthodox side of Judaism, they talk about your home being a sacred space, that you like that the women, they were the ones that, again, that feminine energy, were all about creating sacred space. And that
Hmm.
you don't have to go to a religious place or a spiritual place. Like, you don't have to go anywhere. Like, I've had amazing moments in my office. I've had amazing moments in my house. I've had amazing moments outside. I've had very connected moments with people. Um, I've had, and then I've had, all of these moments in all of these places where they weren't sacred at all. So as long as you're willing and able to open the portal, you can create a sacred space wherever you are, even in the dream state too,
Mhm.
right? Um, and so for me, then I go in and I lean into
Absolutely.
things. So it really starts with yourself, right? Being willing and able to do that. But then, like, we talked about ascended masters and archangels. You could ask them to help you create a space. I like to go and use sage and Palo Santo and other energetics. I like to call in the different elements, right? But you don't have to do that. But I do talk about energetic hygiene because that is important when setting up sacred space. But honestly, I
Mhm.
think it's really just opening yourself up to allowing that to happen.
I love that. Yeah, some of my most spiritual moments have definitely been in nature. I have a very strong relationship with my dream state, and there's so much wisdom that comes through that. And even just in like breath and touch and like all of those things that you were talking about. When I actually created the list of topics that come through for the spirituality conference, sacred space was one that the way that I see sacred space is that it is within you. And so I love that you just said that because we actually haven't had that conversation, but it shows me that you're definitely aligned with the energy of what we have built here and what we're co-creating together. And it really comes down to these three aspects of allowance, presence, and belief. And that's what we're going to explore in the conference. So Tori's going to be a part of our panel. It's a pretty cool format. It's unlike most virtual experiences that you've been to. This is not a pre recorded summit, it's live, it's interactive, three essential pieces. And so I want to just give a little information about that. So the first part is a moderated panel that I did yesterday with our featured mentor and some of the other speakers that are going to be on there as well. So we have these 6 topics throughout the conference, and visioning, affirmations, gratitude, intuition, devotion, and sacred space. These are the topics that we're going to be covering. And like I said, Tori's going to be on that panel for sacred space. Then we'll actually go into a reflective workshop where we look at these 3 topics, and every one of the overarching topics has 3 aspects that we're going to be looking at. For sacred space, it is allowance, presence, and belief, and really reflecting on like, where are you with that right now? And then we go into breakout rooms, and Tori and the other speakers will join us in those breakout rooms. We'll really like roll up our sleeves and start working on that right there in the moment. And so each one of these topics is a 2-hour session. Like I said, you can buy just that session for the ticket, or feel free to come and spend 2 days with us. It is absolutely transformative. Every time I do this 2 days every single month. It has been one of the most powerful things that I've done for myself. So I invite you to come and join us. Tori, I'm so excited to have you joining us for this experience and to really get to play in and share and learn from the wisdom that you bring just by being you. So come join us. I'm going to wrap us up here. Thank you for being with us today, and hopefully we'll see you on July 9th and 10th.